Oh, hello, and welcome to Aldente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have What the Moon Sees. So, What the Moon Sees is the next installment of the Wicker Saga series. I guess I should just call it the Wicker Saga, since saga is, by definition, I think, like a series of things.
It's like saying ATM machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's the next in line with the Wicker Saga. It's by Shadow Swimmer 77. So you can go to creepypasta.wiki to go check it out, along with all the other stories by Shadow Swimmer in the Wicker Saga. And yeah, I suppose we should dive into this with our initial recommendations. I'm gonna recommend it.
I'm gonna recommend it. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
You were going like Mario with that.
I'm also recommending it.
Well, I will also recommend it.
Interesting.
Is it though?
Well, it kind of is.
Oh, okay.
I was honestly, I will, full disclosure, I was kind of contemplating early on as like, should I give this a partial recommendation? And then I decided no. So,
fuck you, brain. Recommend it.
Yeah. But I suppose we'll dive into the story itself to find out why we gave those recommendations, and yeah, see what happens. So, starting with the rundown, it's done in a, I think this is first person perspective.
It's my eyes snap open, so yeah.
and present tense the entire time.
Yes.
So Morgan Fontaine is in an asylum sometime after the events of A Figure in the Fog, and has been there a while. One morning, she picks up that someone may have made a break for it or escaped from the nervous passing orderlies, and through some light investigation and psychic talent, finds out it was Joe Sandoval, a heavily medicated man who was in for killing his cheating wife, but was now a docile waking coma patient. She also found out that his escape may not have been his own doing from the looks of his window outside and some blood on the snow. Using her psychic abilities, Morgan is grabbed mentally and shown a vision of a world covered in blood, all but confirming that Joe was in fact grabbed by some otherworldly entity. She snaps out of this vision in time to get harassed by a gross orderly named Cal Sturgis that wants to have his way with her. After some more threatening, he leaves her be by the snow-covered bench where there are some ash trees. Morgan manages to sneak in some small ashwood branches into her room in case either the human or inhuman monsters come a-calling that night. However, she is drugged at dinner by Cal and brought to her room. As she groggily comes to that night, she finds that she is unable to fully move and the creature that took Joe has returned. The vampire-like being breaks through her window just as he did with Joe's room and is about to feed on Morgan when Cal opens the door for his own creepy desires. The monsters clash, or rather, one monster chases the other down and feeds on Cal, as Morgan finally begins to break free of her paralysis. As she prepares for the bloodthirsty entity to return, using the ashwood branches as a cross, Morgan looks for a moment to the moon shining through the broken window and prays this works. Finn. And yeah, that's basically the story in a nutshell. So, without further ado, I suppose we'll move on to everyone tolerates the Grand Inquisitions. At this point, I got one. I'm going to start with, it's in this sentence here. Similarly, I'm sure that any sane observers would likely arrive at another acceptable explanation for this discrepancy. So it's hard to mention what's wrong with this, except it's the word discrepancy is spelled wrong.
Oh, okay.
There's an E where there should be an A in it. So it should be D-E, or is it? Hang on.
Is there a discrepancy with this discrepancy?
There was a discrepancy with my own discrepancy because I spelled it wrong too. So it is DISCREPANCE rather than PENCE, which is in the story. So
I see.
that's it. That's all I've got for grammar issues. So, Mikey, D stands for evil.
I have a conjunction junction.
All right.
And next stop, Conjunction Junction. Doot, doot.
But I know what lives in the shadows. Have seen how very narrow our vision of what real truly is. How our world is the barest tip of ice poking out of the water. It's a small thing, really. One that I'd never have noticed if I hadn't taken the time to sit on the bench and stare at the ground. But it's there, clear as day. 2 small drops of red marking the snow that my first glance had told me was unbroken. And there's something else too. The same darkness I felt scraps of clinging to the broken window, now undiluted and wrapped up here in Joe's essence, cloying and awful. It belongs to Calvin Sturgis, a new orderly in the hospital and a sadistic son of a bitch. And you know exactly who I'm talking about. And I've got good news for you. I'm on guard tonight. But I'll make sure you spend a month in solitary. Maybe see that they forget to feed you a time or two. So think about that if you decide to get feisty. It's not the first time I've partially clouded someone's mind with my abilities, but it's still a bit of a surprise that I managed to smuggle a pair of foot-long ash branches back into the asylum. The orderlies convinced they've thoroughly searched me. And if Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee taught me any lessons at all, it's that a cross can be made out of 2 straight pieces of pretty much anything. And if it can do that, it'll have my scent. It's all I can do to keep from smiling. It's maybe 5 minutes later that I realize something is wrong. And pass time does, though I have nothing to mark it by. But, here we are. Finn.
Wow. That was short and sweet.
I like how just removing the context from all those sentences that you grab that start with words that they probably shouldn't. Like it's because there's normally better words to use. Doing so makes it kind of seem like Morgan is the bad one that's like trying to be like evil and skeevy to other people.
Yeah.
Because there was no like perspective shift. The whole thing seemed like everything you said was through her eyes.
Yeah. Also, I like how it also has kind of a cliffhanger, sort of like sort of a cliffhanger ending, or like an ending that just kind of like it ends like without a conclusion as to what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So much like the story.
Kind of like how I was just going to say, just how the story does.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a nice. Also, congrats, gamer, on like integrating the your explanation for why we do the conjunction junction, or why my conjunction junctions.
Yeah, I'll do mine now. I'll read the exact same thing.
Oh no. But yeah, gamer, what do you have for grammar in yellow?
A couple. One is just a word I learned. I've heard it before, but I never bothered to look up the definition. And it's I toss him a saccharine sweet smile. Saccharine is basically like an overly sweet or sentimental, usually in a derogatory term.
Ah, gotcha.
But also saying it like that is saying it's an overly sweet smile. Isn't it ATM machining it there?
Or maybe it's just again it's a flowery description to add on.
Yeah, but saccharine means overly sweet, so it's an overly sweet smile.
Yes,
it's that sweet.
Yeah, it's so sweet. It's super sweet.
Sweet. All right, I'll move on from there. Next one is where I lie in my bunk. The paralytic effects of the drug at last seem to be fully wearing off. My upper body at least is responding marginally. So I don't think the word fully needs to be there at all. Because if it was fully worn off, she'd have full mobility. But she doesn't. So if you remove fully, it would sound like this. It would be seem to be wearing off. Not seem to be fully wearing off. Because it's starting to wear off. She can feel it wearing off. But it's not fully worn off.
Yeah, maybe
it's not.
Mostly? Even mostly wearing off?
Or partially, just not fully.
just something to add on to because then the next sentence kind of explains what she means by mostly or whatever. Because the drugs at last seem to be fully wearing off. My upper body at least is responding marginally. That's okay. She might have some motor. Maybe it's most of her body is actually she can actually move it, but not well. But that's not real super conveyed with when you say fully before that.
Yeah.
Fully makes it seem like it's gone.
Yeah, I expected her to do a kip up out of bed and sprint out of there,
Yeah.
But no. And that's all I got for grammar in yellow.
All right. Then I suppose we'll move on to actual thoughts. I'll start with this one here. One of the orderlies stops briefly to ensure I'm posted on my bed where I'm supposed to be before rapidly continuing down the hall. Further conversation lost to my ears. I close my eyes and concentrate, trying to see if I can pick up any stray thoughts from the pair, only managing to get a whiff of frustration, barely making sense of very real fear. Something is wrong. So this is Morgan when her parents had this is when I first started the story. It's okay, so this is Morgan when she had when her parents had admitted her to an asylum after the events of A Figure in the Fog.
Didn't her parents die?
No. So her parents were so we kind of get a bit of this in Sarah's story as well. We kind of find out that so after A Figure in the Fog, which is where Morgan, her sister, or where she goes into the Wicker House to search for her sister who goes missing in the Wicker House, with the two other boys that are in the neighborhood that are friends with them, and then shit happens that goes horribly wrong. Those other two boys are captured by the Figure in the Fog, the Lady Lilith, and then Morgan escapes and tells and goes to her parents. And we do get a little bit of information in Sarah's story where Morgan had been committed after trying to spread the word about the Wicker House and what was in it.
Spread the bad word.
Basically. So this is where we get this this story is basically just kind of filling in more gaps in the narrative of the lore of the Wicker Saga.
Yep.
As to what happened to Morgan. Also, cool that we get a little taste of her psychic ability here, perhaps in the early stages, because in Sarah's story, she's got full blown the shinning, where where she's an older lady and she tells Sarah and the daughter to just think about her and she'll come a calling, and then. And she also has obviously some psychic ability in that story, but in this story, it's obviously we're seeing more of that ability sort of flourishing in her in her youth.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thought that was this story specifically, like there's a lot of things like, oh, that's cool. I remember that from another story.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I'm gonna go with this one. Entering the lodge. Yeah, the lodge. Enter the lodge. Boston, apparently.
Apparently.
Entering the large common room where we spend most of our day. Like the urge to eat Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Well, you failed because you brought it up.
Yep. Anyways, entering the large common room where we spend most of our day, I scan the room looking for Joe. I like Joe Sandoval. He's been a guest here at the Fallen Leaves psychiatric hospital even longer than I have. Killed his wife in some kind of psychotic break when he found out she was cheating on him. And I read this part like about Joe Sandoval, like in here for killing his wife who cheated. And I was like, oh, it's Joe from Petals. Petals being the short story from the Wicker Saga, like we did like 2 years ago, I think, or like a year ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Where he was going to like the flower shop and then like goes home and finds out that his wife's cheating on him and ends up like killing her, and like it's all done from like almost like a psychosis, sort of like it's almost like it's all in his head, and it's like sort of a blur as to what happens. Like he doesn't even fully grasp what he's done.
Yeah.
So this is where he ended up, which I thought was cool. Again, more linking of like, where are they now? What happened to them after their short story?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll move on to the next thing here. Even better, the drugs keep his thoughts quiet, unlike most of the residents whose minds are comprised almost solely on waking nightmares. The horrors from their brains disgust me, perhaps only second to some of the thoughts I pick up from the male orderlies. And as this, I was like, wow, yeah, it would suck to be a telepath in a psychiatric hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
absolutely
especially
horrible.
if you couldn't turn it off, or if you had to like really focus to turn off the noise, the background count.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus. It would almost be enough probably to like drive you insane if you had that ability and you were trapped in a hospital like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we get something that basically all but further proof that Joe is it is in fact Joe from Petals. I extend my senses again, this time towards the red snow. Immediately, I can tell the blood is from Joe. It tastes like him. The image of rose petals falling gently to the floor that I've come to associate with him. Unmistakable in its simple beauty. I was like, yeah, no, that's, again, all but basically mentioning that, like, about, it is, in fact, Joe Sandoval from Petals. Because that's what happened in Petals. Is like we saw like he dropped like a bunch of roses that he was bringing to his wife. After they had a bad fight and such. Also, I just love this description of her exerting her power to get senses of people, and that's how she's picking up impressions of people through like, I guess like memories of them, or like it's not like a physical or it's not like a the description of like their aura or like of their soul or their astral signature is done through almost like impressions and scenery and stuff rather than like an actual person. It's very I've seen it done like described like that in like various other like media like that, how like when somebody's like trying to get a sense of somebody's aura in like Dresden Files, I think does that when they open their third eye. And similarly, Shadowrun, sorry Mikey, when you sense somebody, you get sort of like this kind of you can get this sort of like imagery of like somebody's like astral signature.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I like the descriptions of like her psychic powers and such. And we move on to the next thing here I have. I can't know for sure, but something tells me that whatever the hell abducted Joe will have felt that probe that sucked me into the strange blood world earlier. And if it can do that, it'll have my scent. Who knows? Even if Cal Sturgis is the only monster I have to fend off tonight, the branches may come in handy. And it was like, yeah. So after like hearing about like again, we get a sense of like Cal's person and his disgustingness. And right from here, I was just like, oh man, I really hope the supernatural thing ends up taking Sturgis instead. Like, just poetic justice. Like, just ends
Absolutely.
up. And update, yeah, it does. Fuck you, Sturgis.
Fuck that guy in particular.
Yeah. Oh god, and just the way he like it was such a good scene. The way like because like the creature's about to like feed on Morgan, and then like click, and then Cal's like starts talking and just like, and what the fuck, and then the creature like leaps on Sturgis, slashes at him, throws him into the hallway, and then Sturgis somehow survived that and just starts running, screaming down the hallway like as the creature chasing him down and like eats him down in the in the common room, which was just like such poetic justice.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Such a good scene. I love it when like a monster, like when a inhuman monster and a human monster clash, and like because you get in a story like this, like you get that kind of like, oh, who's the real monster here? Is it the supernatural thing, or is it the person, or is it a person that's the real monster, or like the human monster almost tends to like outshine the supernatural monster in terms of like creepiness and skeeviness, and then it's just such perfect poetic justice when like the supernatural predator attacks the human predator, and like just like karma's a bitch. So really love that theme in the story. But speaking of the chase scene stuff, I do have one little complaint, or one little like, maybe it might be pedantic, it might be a nitpick, but like I'll explain it in the comment I have here, or in the quote I have here. I hear Cal let loose an unintelligible shriek from down near the common room as I finally feel the rough bark of the wood against my palm. The screams have stopped, replaced by a few quiet moans and soft slurping sounds. So first off, ew. And it's like, is that is some loud? It says it's quiet moans and soft slurping, but those are some loud slurping sounds if it can be heard down the hallway in the common room of an asylum.
I mean, the door's open.
I guess, yeah, the doors are open, but like still, like I don't know if she would necessarily hear those sounds from down in her room, but
she's also psychic. She might be like hearing them through her head.
Oh yeah, might be getting impressions of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's also, I guess, like also in a situation like this, like it's hypersensitivity suddenly kicks in because of the trauma of the situation. Mm-hmm. But I just thought it was funny. It's like, that's some loud slurping, actually, if she's hearing that down the hall. And then,
as far as no one else like heard any of this event happen.
Yeah, like where's the other? Like, I'm surprised like we're not getting like other sounds of like other people screaming as like other orderlies are showing up. But like, I guess maybe this hospital only has like one orderly during the night shift. Maybe. Or it's like maybe they're like on this floor at least. But then like if he's screaming like the devil is chasing him, and in fact it might be. You would think that like somebody like even a few floors down from this hallway might actually like hear him screaming, but then they might also not, because of like soundproofing was often a thing in these places, and also like just because somebody's screaming doesn't mean it's like the orderly. It could just be one of the patients in the night.
Yeah,
and they might just.
That's another thing. The patients don't even hear any of this happen.
Well, I mean, we're just not hearing, or we're just not getting the story's not focusing on like the reaction of the other people. But yeah, it would have been nice, I think, maybe to have a scene where like as like he's screaming and dying, we start hearing like sounds of from other patients like in their rooms like going off and such.
Yeah, because like basically the story stops and we're just left to wonder what happened, because like it even says that like basically she's going to find out whether or not the cross is enough to like save her and all that.
Yeah, if her soul's prepared, or if her faith is strong enough to like create enough belief energy to like make the cross work.
Yep. So I'm sure like orderlies would have shown up and all that. It's just like the story stopped before that happened. That's all.
Yeah. Yep. And speaking of the ending, we get the last sentence here. I turn my gaze to her waning pale face with a small, sad smile. She is perhaps the only one who will ever know. And this is in regards to like, Morgan like hoping that her belief, her force of will or her belief is enough to like make the cross work against the monster and stuff like that, and then like prays to God and then looks up to the moon and such. And well, I mean, we clearly, as readers of the Wicker Saga, we do know that Morgan's makes it out of this pickle alive. Like, once again, the story, I can see this story being a standalone story if you don't read any further tales from the Wicker Saga by Shadow Swimmer. Though there is a bit more connective tissue in this one. Like, this one definitely has some more connections if you have read the Wicker Saga. Like, again, name dropping like Joe Sandoval, and like we get to finally find out what happened to him like after the events of Petals. And I do think the ending does leave me wanting a bit more. Like, I didn't go full Disney princess, but like I was like, oh man, like I was like getting to the end, like after like the guys being like eaten in the lounge and like she's like prepping. I was like, I only got like a half a page left to read. What the hell? Like, I was expecting way more. Like I was expecting her escape, but then it just ends with her like just praying this works as the creature starts coming back toward her. But it's not a terrible cliffhanger. The ending, this type of ending happens a lot in stories, and like it's not bad. It just sort of leaves it up to the interpretation of the audience. Like, will she make it? Like, will it be enough? Like, it sort of adds that extra tension, or it's intended to add that extra like kind of tension or I guess like sort of thrill of like, oh shit, is she gonna live or not or die? Like, I like leave it up to the audience to like speculate, because their imagination's so much worse than anything like the author can create.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, like, I also think about this. Something I didn't mention earlier that I should have probably. The story was originally a contest entry by the author. According to the author's note at the top of the story on the wiki, the story was an entry for Christian Wallace and Jonathan Nash's Christmas Jolly Time Murder Fest competition,
Which is a great name.
Love that name. But Shadow Swimmer was given a prompt of red snow, and obviously they utilized that with the red blood in the snow outside of the asylum, like basically what happened to Joe and such. So I'm also wondering if like maybe the reason the story kind of ends the way it does and we don't get like a full on like dramatic escape scene is perhaps maybe like the contest had like a word count or some other limit that was instilled, that like so the author had to like make this type of like choose this type of ending rather than like go into a full explanation as to what happened. Or maybe it was it could have also just as easily been a personal choice to have it end like this. I do feel like honestly, the way it ends this way, it does help itself be almost like it helps strengthen kind of like the story could be. It obviously should be. It can be and it should be read alongside the Wicker Saga stories, like the other ones. But this ending also kind of gives it more credence to like you could read this alone and not have to read the other stories. Because it could just as easily be just a simple short horror story.
For sure.
But yeah, that's really all I've got for What the Moon Sees. I did also like the title is also pretty good. Because like we get a little bit at the beginning of like the moon like casting her gaze down in the beginning, and then we get it basically back again, and it sort of just all comes around again. So What the Moon Sees as a title doesn't give away anything in the story.
Yeah.
But it is still fitting because it is like of when it's brought up in the story. So
yeah, because it's basically at the end it says like the moon's the only thing that's going to see what happens here.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, that's all I've got until I interrupt you guys in your discussion. So
what are the chances of that happening?
Oh, I'm sure it's 1 in a million shot.
Yeah.
But Mikey, the East Ends for Evil. Your actual thoughts.
All right. So I have a question for you guys. And that is, when did you realize that the protagonist was female?
When she said her name was Morgan?
Yeah.
Well, that's still a male name.
It is, but also, and bear in mind, like I guess, like I knew it was like female because I knew more. I recognized Morgan as Morgan Fontaine like right off the hop because we're reading a Wicker Saga story. Though later on it does kind of go into some detail about like the character, like the character situation with the orderlies and stuff like that. So like you could maybe deduce that. But yeah.
So for me, it was shortly after the orderly says, "Where's your boyfriend, Fontaine?" And at first I thought, it's like, oh, well, this is very progressive.
Yeah, but he's also being a dick, so even if it wasn't progressive, he could be saying it as in a derogatory kind of like lens on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to be fair, it's still derogatory regardless of gender.
Absolutely.
Because the guy's a dick.
Yeah.
But basically once the orderly came in and started being skeevy and whatnot, I was like, okay, yeah, this is a female. But up until that point, I was like, I didn't know 100% the gender of the protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
So if you read this as a standalone, that might cause issues because you have to rewrite the story from the beginning. It's like, oh wait, it's a female.
I don't really think that's much of an issue, honestly. But
well, I know it can annoy people like Gamer when he has to rewrite the story.
Yeah, I suppose in that regard,
in his mind.
Oh, I redraw the story in my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. All right. Anyway, though it's technically a simple grammar issue, which I mean, if you just somehow splice in earlier that the protagonist is female, it wouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
Anyway. So, my next actual thought here. But I know what lives in the shadows. And my thought is vampires. Vampires live in the shadows.
I mean, a lot of things do.
Honestly, I was up in the air whether or not this was like it's like for a moment, like when the creature appears to Morgan through the window, I was like, okay, is this either a vampire or an incubus? Just with like what it was doing to her, like both like on a how it was like kind of tempting her, like just by existing, and like it was like how it was like kind of affecting her. I was like, okay, this thing's either like, for some reason my mind was like incubus, and then I was like, no, this is straight up a vampire as well, like just vampire like motives and traits just all the way down. Might as well have been just sparkling in the moonlight.
Not all vampires have to be that kind.
I know it's a goof, Gamer. It's a laugh. You having a giggle, mate?
Are you?
I was.
Seeing a pattern forming though.
And my next actual thought here. Reality shifts. And instead of the blank pale whiteness of new fallen snow, the landscape is transformed into one entirely of red, the sun and sky and trees alike. To which my thought is, Link, the blood moon rises once again.
Yeah. It was... That's the first... Okay, so connective tissues time, because you got that... I just recently watched episodes from the second season of Twisted Metal, and
nice.
there's a moment that happens like when the first car race of like the Twisted Metal tournament, and Calypso like announces is counting down, and as soon as he counts down to 10 and like everybody starts racing out, the sun changes, like the sun has an eclipse that makes everything go red.
Nice.
And it was such a cool like moment where like suddenly all the cars are going in, and like Dragula by Rob Zombie starts playing. So that like that's what I visualized is like the moon suddenly became like blood red, like an eclipse happened, and like everything was suddenly bathed in this red light.
And
But I
Dracula
do,
started playing.
yeah, exactly, yeah. But I also do love the link. The blood moon rises. I do also appreciate that that reference.
Absolutely.
And then my last actual thought here is based on the title.
Mhm.
Like, the moon doesn't really do much of anything.
No, it is. Oh wow, it is literally a red herring. That was unintentional until I formed the words in my head before I said them, and I was like, that's why I stopped for a moment. It was like, oh, I have a moment here. I can't resist I can't resist the chance to say this.
Fair.
You got a dad joke on me.
How'd I do, gamer?
He's all right.
All right. Yeah, so that's the end of my actual thoughts.
All right. Gamer.
Well, I only got a couple. One is a little bit of connective tissue stuff, because like I've been slowly going through the Flash TV show, as I've been saying every freaking recording, and there's always something to reference that is tied to the creepypasta I'm doing that week, apparently.
Again, like the last couple of years have just been connective tissues time. The season of connective tissues time, apparently.
It seems like it, yeah. But on the Flash TV show, in the season episode that I'm on, one of the characters very recently got the ability to read minds. Like 1 or 2 episodes before I started reading this, I'm like, oh, okay, this seems familiar.
Yeah.
I'm bringing up mind reading stuff again.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
And then my next note is just I like the bit of mystery that's being described here. Like seeing a couple of steps of the character trying to figure out what happened was pretty neat. And then we get the result in clear detail, which is nice too. Sometimes not knowing is better, but I like how the creature was revealed and like the threat of it the whole time. It was all pretty well done. And regarding Sturgis, so many of these stories we read paint men as scumbags. Granted, a lot are, but I'm sure this sort of thing happens in hospitals all the time, or not all the time, but sometimes, maybe more so in the past than the present. Especially since the amount of times I've seen this happen in movies and TV shows too. It's so much. Goddamn. It makes me feel like shitty simply for being of the same gender as that asshole.
That's technically good because it means that you are an empathetic person.
I suppose.
You're disgusted by the actions of these people.
Yes. And yeah, reading through the story, depending on how this story was going to go with it, I was once again prepared to stop reading if it got really bad.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm with you. Like, I started reading this, where I was like, I really hope this doesn't end with like an actual like in-depth sexual assault scene.
Yeah,
because we've had a couple of those recently in stories.
We really have. Granted, there was no like not safe for work warning at the start of this, so I should have put that thought out of my thoughts, but I didn't. I was still worried the whole time, which I guess actually added to like the creep factor in this, because I'm worried about Sturgis as much as she is, because I don't want to read that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about all I have left until final thoughts.
Right. Well, we're on to final thoughts.
Great.
That was a perfect segue. Nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, final thoughts. I'm still going to recommend it, especially as another installment of the Wicker Saga. Though I can see it again. Much like a lot of the other stories in the Wicker Saga, like they don't need to be read in conjunction with reading other Wicker Saga stories. They could just as easily be read as a standalone short horror story. I really like the theme in this one, like the theme it's portraying, i.e., the like monsters, both human and inhuman.
Yeah.
And the writing was enticing. I found myself like looking through. It's like I don't really have a whole lot of notes in this one, just because like I was enjoying the read. So
Yeah, me
I
too.
had to go back a few times and actually like add in some things that like I liked. So yeah. But yeah, all in all, like it's a good read, both as an installment of the Wicker Saga or not. So, I'm recommending it. Mikey, these stands for evil.
Yeah. As stated, my only real gripe with this story is the gender of the protagonist didn't come clear for me for a little while into the story.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, technically, if I'd remembered that the character from the previous stories was female, it wouldn't have been an issue. Like,
Yeah, so this really seems like a you problem, just saying.
Also, realistically, I think like 90% of the Wicker Saga has female main characters. I think.
Yeah, I'm
For the most
pretty
part.
sure. Yeah.
yeah. So, well, but the thing is, I don't think it says it's part of the Wicker Saga until like the very end.
Well, it is actually part. Well, technically, it's part of the Wicker Saga. If you go down to the bottom and like, there's like a next and a next and previous like story installment thing.
Yeah. So going into this, I wasn't expecting Wicker Saga because it doesn't say anywhere at the top that it's Wicker Saga.
Fair. For me, when I load up any story, the first thing I do is grab that scroll bar and scroll right to the bottom just to get like a rough idea of how long the story is before getting into it, which clued me in immediately because it says Wicker Saga at the bottom. So I had the opposite happen to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that being said, it was an enjoyable read, so I'm still going to recommend this.
And gamer.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna parrot Mikey that it was a good read. I like the angle of being in the head of a sane psychic person amongst a bunch of psychotic people, and having to deal with blocking them out and such. Like that was an interesting dynamic that I don't think we've really seen much in stories or media in general. There's a lot of tension throughout the story from both the mundane and the supernatural means. And it kept my interest the whole way through to the point that I didn't write a whole lot of notes because I was enjoying it. Yeah, I'll still recommend it. There's so few little problems, quote unquote, that I can't even think about making it partial. Why did you consider making it partial, Cultist?
Honestly,
what was your issue with it?
It was only like a moment. And I was like, by the end, I was just like, I think it was because the ending, like, because it just kind of I wanted more.
Oh,
I think
see.
that's partially what, because I wanted to see Morgan escape the creature.
Yeah.
But then it just ended with that kind of ending. But thinking back a little bit more on it as I was like formulating, like finishing up my notes and stuff like that, I was like, you know what? No, I think this is actually a okay ending, and like it's worthy of giving it a full recommendation. So
yeah, you'd think I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as I did because like right out the gate, media res immediately. And then, like, there's some italics in the first paragraph. It's like, oh, fuck. And then at the end, it kind of stops instead of ending. So, like, those are normally points that are negatives for me, but the story handles all those points fine. It explains the media res situation pretty quick, so it didn't bug me. And the mystery of not knowing exactly what happened was kind of cool, too. Although, that might be explained in a further story for all we know.
We'll have to see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know that Morgan escapes this, becomes a vampire hunter, and then eventually becomes an old woman that like watches the Wicker House to make sure no one like goes in or gets enthralled by Lilith. So
yes,
but yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we get more stories like along her timeline, basically, or like her life.
Mm-hmm.
So
I feel like when like the orderlies show up, and see the scene that happened, they would probably just blame her somehow because she's holding quote unquote weapons that have no blood on them. And her door's open, and all the other doors are closed, and this guy's dead from chest wounds.
Yeah, true, exactly. Like slashes or punctures, like that could be easily done by. And who knows, like what happens, like when between her and the creature, like maybe like he does get, the creature does end up getting killed by her with the ash tree branches that like are now like stakes basically, but like, and in so doing, like it vanishes or dissipates because it's an ethereal supernatural creature, but it leaves blood on the stakes.
It ate Sturgis, right?
Yeah,
is Sturgis, right?
Yeah, Sturgis.
Yeah, it ate like Sturgis wholly, like his whole body's gone. Goes in to finish her off. She stabs him with the stakes, which banishes him, but doesn't banish what's in his stomach. So this body just falls all over her, coating her in blood. And then the other orderlies show up and be like, "I didn't do it."
I swear, I didn't do it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain that one away.
Yeah, at that point, like I think she would have just made a run for it and escaped, and that's how she got out.
Yeah.
Like I'm picturing she either escaped in the chaos after, like when the orderlies show up, or she escaped during the conflict with the creature that when it showed back up to her.
Yeah, because her window is open. Whether it's big enough for a person to get out, I can't say.
Yeah, it's on the second floor. So, but like, there's also like a bank of snow at the bottom, so like she could possibly jump out and like not hurt herself too badly. So
I don't know about that. But
it's up.
There's also the other fence on the outside too. But yes.
Yeah, there's also that, but also she could also like again tie some of her sheets together and basically like form a thing down, and then
use Sturgis's intestines as a rope.
Sure, yeah, you can do that.
Because she doesn't have many things to use.
No.
I guess
they generally want to keep
that'd be less gross.
They generally want to keep you away from a lot of stuff that you could do stuff like, make a rope to hang yourself with when you're in a psychiatric hospital.
Yeah, or shivs and such.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's about all I got to say on this one.
All right. So yeah, another story where we have roundhouse recommendations to the face.
Mm-hmm.
Recommend. And I guess that'll do it for this week's episode. So that's it for tonight. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. Some of us are on Blue Sky. Mikey, for example, is at the E Stands for Evil, and I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com, where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. We have special episodes, early access, and extra content. To all our patrons helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, writing and posting these stories online on various websites, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Now's a good time to mention that we are part of a podcast network, Crit in the Night, an actual play and creepypasta podcast network. We're there alongside our sister podcast, One Less Die, and our cousin podcast, The Role-Playing Exchange, for things that go crit in the night. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E Stands for Evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.